Touhou world records are seriously underrated. Compared to the typical Mario 64 speedrun, Touhou looks like a just play good lol type of game, but it's much more than meets the eye. Just looking at a single shot type record is enough to blow an onlooker away at the unusual strategies and tight gameplay a player must do just to push that score a little bit higher. I can talk for hours on the various players that managed to obtain the status of world record holder, but no one person is as legendary in the current era as MyonKichi, otherwise known as the current world record holder, not just for Wily Beast and Weakest Creature overall, but for all of the main game records. Such occurrences rarely happen throughout history, so how is Myon able to accomplish this? In today's video, we will be talking about the story of how Myon went from a relatively mundane player to arguably the best in the world at Touhou 17. Okay, history time. Myon started off as your average Touhou fan, playing the fan games and enjoying the Danmaku. It's not known when exactly he began his journey, but some of the earliest Touhou gameplay comes from his blog in 2016 where he posted some hard and extra mode clears of the various games like Imperishable Night and Legacy of Lunatic Kingdom. Early on, he has done score runs of easier categories like Embodiment of Scarlet Devil, Reimu being normal, and Imperishable Night Scarlet Team easy. As time progressed, he continued to post clears on harder difficulties, even obtaining the elusive Lunatic 1cc. However, all changed when a certain game released. Hidden Star in 4 Seasons came out in August 2017. MyonKichi found a new game that he enjoyed. Among his first blog posts are him clearing the extra mode with a 1.6 billion, a fairly good score, but he decided to push it higher. Then higher to a 2.082 billion with Reimu, a brand new world record. That was broken 2 days later on the 22nd of September. Yeah, this was only a month after the game release, so there was a lot to optimize. Another category that Myon worked on is Normal Cerno Autumn, where on the 17th of November, he managed to get a 3.46 billion that lasted longer than 2 days. Rather, 3 months. At that point in time, MyonKichi was really getting the grasp of score running the Touhou games. During this time, he also got some really good scores like in Double Dealing Character with his 998 million with Marisa being normal in November 2017, an impressive Hidden Star in 4 Seasons extra I run in which he managed to get a score of 3 billion, likely the first in its category, and the Lunatic No Bomb run of Embodiment of Scarlet Devil, a game infamous for its RNG. He was improving at Touhou and fast too throughout 2018 and the first half of 2019, but something was brewing in the distance. You see, as every Japanese Touhou fan does, Myon attended that year's Comic-Con where the latest and greatest Touhou games were being sold. Touhou Keikeju, Wily Beast, and Weakest Creature. He bought 3 copies of the CDs, but little did he know that this was a purchase that was going to change his life forever. Upon buying the discs and returning home to play them, he found that the main game was rather difficult while finding the extra stage not too hard, but noting that there were a bunch of first time killers. It's also worth noting that he loved Beast Metropolis. He is a man with good taste. He began the grind in the first few months of the game's release, beginning rusty at first, but he and the community at large realized one thing. Otter was busted. The most important thing to learn about scoring Touhou 17 is to understand when and where to use animal spirits Otter to build up point item value to gain points via the green items. Unlike the previous Touhou games where it's more based around grazing and spell bonuses, Touhou 17's animal mechanic is so unbelievably broken that it can literally break the score counter. Dubbed counter stops, they are scores that go beyond 10 billion. Because it was known so early on that such a score could be achieved, many players saw it as their end goal. You may expect Myon to be the first player to achieve a counter stop, but he was not. In fact, the first player to achieve the elusive counter stop was ISN in November of 2019, then the second and third being Borealis and KG a few months later. Even though the game can be broken so much thanks to Otter, it is still extremely difficult to reach such highs. Myon decided that he wanted to break this goal with his favorite shot type, Youmu. He enjoyed how she played compared to other Shaw types. I mean, where do you think he got his name from? He decided to focus on pushing her score higher. In February 2020, he managed to achieve an 8 billion high score of Youmu, but it was becoming apparent that a counterstop score is the endgame for a skilled player. So, with this goal in mind, he went to work. After 2 months of work, he finally got the counterstop with Marisa, since she is the character with the highest potential. He then went back to the grind with the goal to perform a counterstop with Youmu and Reimu, which he managed to do months later in July. These were the achievements that put him on the map. It cemented him as a super player in the Touhou community. After this monumental achievement, Myon went on to score for other games, like reaching an 8 billion in Hidden Star in 4 seasons and a 1.9 billion in Double Dealing character. However, his desire to play Wily Beast did not disappear. He did score it occasionally, pushing scores higher and higher, even making an appearance at round 2 of the 2021 Touhou World Cup, where one of his opponents, Borealis, performed an incredible new world record of 11.9 billion with Marisa Otter. Myon also performed well too, getting a 9.95 billion with his preferred shot type, Youmu Otter. Even though he got an extremely good score, the lack of an ultimate goal set him back for a while. Until an idea appeared. When you go to the Maribel Hearn World Record site, you can see a whole board of scores. One may assume that they are all the best of the best, and that all of them would at least take a decade to beat. But just one problem: no one scores them. In this game, there are 45 categories to select from, but some are better than others. The Lunatic Otter categories are preferred due to their counterstop potential. Sometimes there are already occasional extra mode oddities, but that stage's strategies are so wildly different compared to the main game that I won't include them in this video. Aside from that, you might as well assume that the others are just abandoned meme categories that no one cares about. By November 2021, the records page were dominated by Japanese player Niboshi, with a few others by Seko, KG, and Borealis. Myon had only one record on the board, his 10.7 billion from August 2020, which he managed to get sometime after his grind for the Youmu counterstop as a way to push his favorite category higher. As the New Year's came, Myon had a goal to reach 11 billion with Youmu Otter, which he managed to do on New Year's Day. After breaking his New Year's resolution so quickly, Myon needed a new goal. But suddenly, light bulb! You know how Niboshi dominated the board? Well, the records he dominated were old, unoptimized, and not often played. It's a perfect storm for something big to happen. Myon likely noticed too, but the problem still stood. Where will he start? Let's fast forward to the middle of 2022 with round 12 of the Touhou World Cup. Myon managed to get selected for the Lunatic scoring event where he would be competing with the loudest Italian Touhou player in the world, Reboot Ova. He was competing using Youmu Wolf, trying to get an 8 billion. He unfortunately did not meet his goal, but likely around this time, he had a thought. What will I do after I beat this goal? The answer to that question had to come quickly since Myon finally got an 8 billion with Youmu Wolf shortly after. However, one day, Myon decided to do a run with Lunatic Youmu Eagle, a shot type not commonly used because it sucks. While not making any posts of it on his blog, he managed to get a new record of 8.138 billion. With these scores, he cemented himself as a true specialist in Youmu. He stated in his blog post that he had a goal of achieving 11.5 billion with Youmu Otter, but the next month in July, he did something incredible. He managed to finally do it. a run so well that it has yet to be beat even to this day. Now, he has all the lunatic Youmu records, but what now? Without any other goals to do, he had to set his sights lower. Remember those records from the bullshit that were just collecting dust? Well... By the 1st of September, the entire Youmu category bar had been filled with MyonKichi's name. 12 out of 36 records. For those records, it must have taken a great toll on him to achieve such scores, let alone in a span of a few weeks. But one problem. With all due respect to Myon and Niboshi, these categories are extremely unoptimized. You know how I mentioned earlier about otter categories being busted? Well, the reason is because otter has extra length when the otter hyper is activated, plus extra bombs and otter tokens upon death. Wolf and Eagle lack that one extra bomb that makes otters so good. It doesn't help that Wolf and Eagle drop their respective tokens, which are effectively useless for score running. Bombs and score runs are used for invincibility frames to collect otter tokens, since that builds up point item value. The limit of 500,000 can be reached extremely early on thanks to good otter uses in certain spells and stage sections, but it's more important since it builds up the value for green items. They are the things you see after deleting bullets, and they can be a massive point game in late game. Say for example you're fighting on Keiki on Lunatic with her laser spell card. If you pop a hyper and farm for green items, you can potentially push the score beyond 1.8 billion points in just that spell card. That just shows how powerful Otter truly is, but it would not be possible without these advantages mentioned previously. Bombs walk so Otter can run, if that makes sense. Because the two other shot types were made for not scoring, they are not often played, thus free world records for the taking. Still, the Otter hyper spam applies in the other categories, which can allow for these new records to be pushed hundreds of millions above the previous ones, a good sign that something was unoptimized. After such a grind to become a true master in a shot type, one may assume that retirement is to come shortly due to the strain it could take on a runner or the lack of goals for not giving him motivation to continue his runs. But as the community's eyes shifted toward this occurrence, it became clear that Myon is to go all the way. Throughout September, he decided to conquer Reimu Eagle, likely to master how she works via a category that no one cares about. Myon managed to break both the Lunatic and Hard Reimu E records on the same day, September 20th, while breaking the normal Easy records a few days later. Skipping over a few records to the Wolf and Otter categories, the crown jewel of the Reimu categories is Lunatic Reimu Otter. The skill he built up playing Reimu Wolf is beginning to show, so sometime around the 15th of October, he played a round of Wily Beast and Weakest Creature, and did something amazing. $10.9 billion. A score that to one seems incredible, but Myon did not like it. He was tired, but forced himself to play, so the run was rather loose. He wanted to make that score 11 billion before he continued, so he went to work. He did it. 11 billion with Reimu has finally been achieved. He now has 24 out of 36 records. It's worth noting that, in the middle of his Reimu arc, he managed to get 32 overall world records in all of his years at Touhou, including some hidden star in 4 seasons and double dealing character records. This is significant because he is now equivalent to KG, another high level Touhou player most known for score running Undefined Fantastic Object, and for having the highest amount of Touhou world records across games. Myon made a blog post reminiscing on how KG was an inspiration and the master of his heart. He never believed that he could make it this far, but determination and tenacity can push one a long way. After attaining his 11 billion score of Lunatic Reimu O, to put it in the words of Myon, it's finally time to enter the Marisa arc. The final showdown is near. Like he has done before, Myon began strong by taking the Eagle records in between October 29th and Halloween. He did manage to do something legendary though. Although not being the first to break the 8 billion point barrier, he managed to get a new world record by a meager 6 million points. Myon believed that he could have gotten an 8.3 billion, but he had to make some sacrifices in some places. But what's more important is that he managed to get all the world records with the eagle shot type. Hooray! Oh, more importantly, he was now getting the hang of Marisa. 28 out of 36 was not cutting it for him though, so he went on. And on. And on. Until 34 out of 36. Myon now has every single world record with Wolf and every normal and easy mode world record. With the pace he has shown, getting the final 2 sounds like a piece of cake for Myon. Right? Meet Borealis. You may remember them as one of the first players to achieve a counterstop score. At this time, they held 2 of the most prestigious world records in the game. The hard Marisa Otter 10.04 billion from September 2021 being the only known hard mode category that can counterstop, and the overall world record, the lunatic Marisa Otter 10.9 billion from March 2021, which is the shot type with the highest known scoring potential. It's also worth noting that Borealis performed this run at the Touhou World Cup live, just to make it a bit more legendary.
This is when we're going to find out if Borealis has broken the world record.
Previous records, even the lunatic Otters, were difficult, but if Myon is to sweep the board, well, let's just say the true battle has finally begun. This was going to be hard. For Myon to beat Borealis, he must first get a score beyond 10 billion in hard mode, which is actually more difficult than it is in lunatic. There are less bullets to abuse for green items, so more precision and stricter routing is necessary. When Borealis got their record for the category, it took 2 years of grinding just to get that counterstop. It was likely going to be Myon's hardest challenge yet, but as previous practice has shown, Myon is always ready for the job. $10.07 billion, a score difference of only 30 million. That just goes to show how precise this category is. But Myon managed to perform the near impossible on the 6th of December 2022. Now, there is only one record left to beat, Borealis' 11.9 billion run. Because the lunatic categories can be so brutal, it was thought that Borealis' score could stand for a very long time. However, even Borealis knew that their score was not perfect. They believed that a 12.3 billion pace was possible, but they left it at 11.9 for a future player to obtain the record. A score beyond 12 billion was known to be possible for the longest time, but it requires great skill, precision, and discipline. If there is one man that can beat Borealis once and for all, it is going to be MyonKichi. I never said it was going to be a piece of cake, but that never stopped him before. He is at 35 out of 36 records. Giving up now would be foolish. Many people are cheering him on to finally beat this goal that all stemmed from him wanting to play his favorite game just a little bit longer. So, like he has done with all the previous records, he went to work. On the 30th of December 2022, he finally did it. 36 out of 36 main game world records, all managing to perform this sprint in only 6 months. The community west and east celebrated his victorious achievement. Upon gaining his new world title, one may expect him to take a break. This is what he would have likely done if it weren't for a new foe. Remember KG? He is the inspiration for Myon. Myon has all the main game world records for Touhou 17, but as stated before, most of them are unoptimized and rarely played. KG also saw the opportunities to steal a record. He did a little trolling basically. On New Year's Day 2023, KG destroyed the Myon sweep by sneakily improving the easy Marisa Eagle record 160 million above Myon's previous 3.09 billion. Was KG, one of the most legendary and dedicated players of all time, really going to take on MyonKichi? It appeared so. But Myon took it back 4 days later with another 250 million point increase. After that, KG likely decided to focus on other Touhou games instead of taking him on. Myon has gotten so good at Touhou 17 that one could consider him in a league of his own. Now we come to the current day. Myon got asked what his next goals are. His answer was that he is going to go for a double-dealing character Reimu A 1.5 billion score. That he managed to do in February, by the way. In context, the world record for Reimu A is a 1.6 billion. He can be occasionally seen streaming gameplay on his Twitch and breaking the unusual shot type records. At the time of writing this script, he managed to break a few double-dealing character and push some Wily B scores higher. The question remains though, will Myon's record stand? Or will his sweep be challenged by a new foe? We just have to wait and see. But as for you, I hope you enjoyed this video. Special thanks to WBaWC for helping me proofread this script. If you see him in the comments section, please reply to him with an Italian flag. But in the meantime, bye bye. Hope you like score running.